Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Lessons Learned, the dumbest thing I've ever done with money. My name is Suzanne, and I'm the head coach at G.R.A.C.E Financial Coaching. And today we are talking to Shauna, the tax goddess. Shauna is a CPA with lots of other letters after that. She also has a master's degree in taxation. She's a published author and, most importantly, founder of Tax Goddess Business Services. It's a 100% digital firm with an expert team of more than 75 people around the globe. And they have saved their clients $1.57 billion with a B in taxes. Shauna herself is a sought-after tax expert who advises business owners, investors, and entrepreneurs to create plans of action which will increase their bottom line, reduce costs, significantly reduce taxes, increase cash flow, and performs what-if scenario options so that owners know what decisions to make and what paths are best suited to their situation. You may have also seen Shauna featured in Forbes, CNN Money, CBS, Fox, ABC, and many more places. Shauna, thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, thanks so much for having me. I always love talking money, so this should be fun.
So tell us a little bit about how Tax Goddess Business Services got started.
Love it. So I'm actually ex-KPMG. So I always call it the Goldilocks, right? Went from very big to medium to little private. And very long story short, the downside to being a redhead, which I see you've got some of that in there too, dealing with authority that isn't you tends to be more difficult. So opened up Tax Goddess, and we just turned 20 years old this past August. So,
oh my gosh.
Yeah.
You do not look old enough to have worked at KPMG and have a 20-year-old business.
You are too sweet. I'll take it all day.
Seriously. So 20 years. That's amazing.
Years,
and we have 75 employees. And
yeah.
are we strategically around the globe, or have you just picked out the best people and they happen to be around the globe?
Best people, and they happen to be around the globe. So yeah, very long story short, for probably the first 7 years of my business, I was a physical brick and mortar, had the office, the whole thing. And one day walked into the office, and it was me and my secretary in this 3,000 square foot building that I owned. And I'm going, where is everybody? Right? Oh, well, you let everybody work from home. So why would anybody be here? I'm like, so why do I own a business? It just flipped a switch in my mind and said, listen, if nobody needs to be anywhere anymore, now this was come 13 years ago, right? Nobody needs to be anywhere anymore. So why do I own a building? Why am I paying for insurance and taxes and electricity and all this kind of stuff? And so we went digital, and I started hiring people overseas. And at this point now, most of our staff, I'd say probably 95% of our staff is overseas. We're in about 20 different countries.
Wow.
And it's allowed me to hire the best top talent, the KPMG guys in India, the KPMG guys in the Philippines, like whatever. I've been able to pick up all these awesome team members. And we even have a company that helps other people hire overseas called Talent Gnome. So
cool.
It really helps, businesses who want to do what we did and maintain the digital. Of course, with COVID, many businesses were kind of forced into digital with no choice. But a lot of them, some are going back to the office, and a lot of them are losing good staff because they're forcing back to the office. So
yeah. And I mean, I'm sure you can, just as I can make arguments on both sides for that,
100%,
right?
100%,
You can sit here and we can talk about how you have the best people all over the world. And then we could also hang up, log back in again, and have a whole 30-minute conversation about how it's so important to know about the culture of the company and all that kind of stuff. So
100%.
there's positives and negatives. Don't worry about the dog. I've got 3 of them behind me right now. It's only a matter of time before one of them starts.
They're
right?
as worked up as we are about the differences between online and offline and all the things. Yeah.
I love it. Yes. Luckily, 2 of mine are mostly deaf. So.
Oh, gracious. Yeah. The downside, I've got 2 German Shepherds, a Cane Corso, and then 2, we call them super mutts, right? So between the 5 of them, it's about 400 pounds worth of dog. And if they hear a leaf fall, the barking ensues. So
the German Shepherds especially. Yes, definitely. Oh my gosh. God bless you. So we've got, going back to the Tax Goddess, how do people find the Tax Goddess service? So if we're talking about like a business owner, potentially a CFO, and they're like, hey, something's not right. We're paying too much in taxes. We could be doing better with XYZ. What are they typically searching for when they do find you?
And you hit the nail on the head, right? It's typically the business owner themselves going, you know what? I love my CPA. Love my CPA. They've done my tax returns for 20 years. I've never been audited. I'm very happy. Everything's great, except for, right, the but at the end of the sentence, right?
Yeah.
But every time I come to them with a tax strategy, I found this article in the Wall Street Journal. I found this on TikTok, like whatever, wherever you're finding your tax strategies these days, right? Take them to the CPA, and the CPA either says, yeah, we can help you figure that out, or they cross their arms and go, well, we're not doing that. Absolutely not. And kind of going a little old school stodgy there from that standpoint.
Yeah.
So,
and it could very well be, could it be a loophole that perhaps the CPA wasn't aware of, or something new that's come out? It could be any of those things.
100%, 100%, 1,000% actually. I mean, one of the things that we tell clients that do find us, right, because then they start looking and saying, listen, I need somebody who specializes in this. And that's what all those initials after my name are, right, is the specialization for tax strategy. I'm one of 15 in the country that do what I do.
Oh
So,
my gosh.
right. Yeah, there's not a whole lot of us out there. And, when you look across the statistics, according to Google, there are 660,000 CPAs in the US. CPAs do all sorts of things, right? They're not all tax people, right? There are CFOs and controllers and, private family houses, these kinds of things. So when you are looking to minimize your tax, I mean, taxes are the biggest expense, period. And if you're a successful business owner, California has the highest rates, 63%. 63% of your money is going to not you, right? Going to the government, going somewhere else. And, that's a little annoying, because as a business owner who has built your business, blood, sweat, tears, and equity, you'd like to pay for your kids to go to private school. You'd like to buy another business, start another business. You'd like to buy some rentals. You'd like to maybe put away for retirement. Well, when you're handing over 63% of your money, even though you make a lot, it doesn't feel like a lot. No. And I think that's the biggest reason why people call, is that there is a better way. They know there's a better way, right? Trump, and not to talk politics, but many of the politicians are paying a whole heck of a lot less than our business owners are. Why? And it's because they have people like me on staff that do what they need to do.
Right. And it doesn't matter what side of the aisle you're on. You have to find that person that's going to do it.
You got to find your team. You have to have your team.
What is your expert opinion on the lack of, or soon to be lack of, CPAs? This has been something that I've been talking to people about for 2 years now, because I was struggling to find
it's
a
coming,
CPA.
and now it's here. It's crazy. Yeah. So big picture here. Okay. I believe, one, a lot of companies are going overseas to find the help that they need to be able to manage the clientele that need CPAs. Okay. There's a big difference between, and I'll really generalize it into 3 areas: bookkeeping, like day-to-day accounting, your CPA who files the tax return, and then tax strategy from that standpoint. Okay. The bookkeeping has been outsourced, commoditized, whatever you want to call it, for the past 15 years. Okay. The taxes are next on deck. Okay. They had another 15 years here. So smart firms are hiring overseas. They're trying to get more staff, because you just can't find them in the US. If you're a numbers brain, you are not going to go be an accountant. Okay. Accountants have massive amounts of liability. They don't get paid enough for what they do in the States. It's just not. Why would you do that? You go become an engineer, right? You go become a business owner, go get your MBA, do something that you can earn more at. So the likelihood that you're going to find a CPA that isn't 80 years old and about to, excuse me language, but drop dead, right, is super, super rare at this point.
Yeah.
And so
really, I actually did have that. I had that with a client, a financial coaching client who they've been with the same CPA for years. He's 80 years old. He was in New York. Now he's in Florida. Story of our life. And he screwed up their last tax return. Badly.
Well, you come to a point, good or bad, I'm sorry, but the brain is not meant to last that long. It just isn't.
Right.
And so, it's scary for business owners. And, the good side of it is that AI is getting better. Automation is getting better. Not that it's perfect still from that standpoint. Okay. But preparing a basic tax return, right? W-2, home mortgage, some interest and dividends, whatever. you can do that on TurboTax. Okay. And the AI will walk you through it and you're fine and whatever. Where you need to find the specialist is when you have things that are more complicated. You have multiple businesses. You also own rental properties. You have some foreign assets. Okay. FBAR filing. You could have a $10,000 penalty if you do it wrong. Right. And so really what you're looking for is, as you're out there interviewing, trying to find, I talk a lot about the team, because the strategist is on the team, your CPA is on the team, your attorney's on the team, your financial advisor's on the team, your insurance planner's on the team. I mean, it's a team kind of effort.
Yeah.
So as you're out there interviewing, one of the things that I always ask is, what is your capacity? Right? If they're talking to you in the first place, you know that they have at least a little bit of capacity. But what's your capacity when my business grows 2, 3, 4, 5 times? Right? Do you even have that skill set inside your office? Are you planning on hiring that skill set? Because finding a CPA to fall in love with them, and then 2 years later you've outgrown them and you have to do the process again, is a nightmare.
So, or having a CPA in-house, and then
well,
like you said,
you have one though, and what happens when that guy drops dead?
Exactly. Like, or what happens when that person leaves for a different job or a different area?
100%,
like, so yeah, 100%. We're committing ourselves. Oh, that's so scary. All right. Well, it makes me feel a little bit better that you said the AI is getting better.
It is getting better.
I went searching for a new CPA 2 years ago, and I'm not kidding you. I single-handedly found out this information about a lack of CPAs before the Wall Street Journal reported on it. And I was like, I've been saying that for 6 months.
Forever. Well, because you can't find anybody.
Yeah.
And if you can find somebody, their wait list is 3 years long to even get in.
That has, and luckily that client I mentioned earlier works with me. And so I was able to get them into
the right
the right person. And then that person said they think their tax returns for the last 3 years have been messed up. So yeah, I know, but better 3 years than 13, right?
Very true.
To find out you could have been getting more back 10 years ago and now it's too late. Like that would have been much more devastating. So, well, Shauna, I know you're not perfect. Although you're pretty close. You're pretty close.
You're too sweet. Okay, go ahead.
So I have to ask, because this is why our audience listens. What would you say is the dumbest thing you've personally ever done with money?
Yeah. So part of my job is to find new tax strategies, right? Things that work, things that will help our clients reduce their money, good investments, these kinds of things. I will not recommend to my clients anything that I have not tried myself. Okay. So I think that's super important, because how am I supposed to put my name on something unless I've, of course, done all the due diligence, looked at all the tax code, looked at all the reasons, and put my money where my mouth is, right? For me, it's just kind of my line. So got involved in a film credit. Okay. Yes, was very excited about the project. Really liked, I kind of like the campy B class kind of video, movies, whatever. Anyway, I was very excited about the project, went to the premiere, did all the things, was hoping to at least make my money back on top of course, the tax deduction that would have made me happy. I did not. I put in $30,000. I got back about $3,000. I'm like, okay, I lost $90,000 or 90% to go to a movie premiere. That life lesson, right? But you don't do tax strategy assuming you're going to get it all back, right? There's always a chance. An investment, there's always a chance you could lose it. So yes.
Gotcha. So probably could have done a little more due diligence, or what would
it's a movie. I mean, this is the hardest part, right? From the tax strategy standpoint, it worked beautifully. Did exactly what it was supposed to do. Due diligence was perfect. Everything from a tax strategy standpoint was fine. I am not a knowledgeable investor in film. So, I think my lesson out of that, I've done real estate for 24 years, longer than I've had my CPA practice. I've done real estate. So I'm going to stick with real estate investments moving forward, because that's what I know. So I think that was the life lesson for me. So.
Yeah. And it's funny that you mentioned a film, because I literally was just listening to a podcast the other day. So out of left field, but I was like, wow, this is a very similar story. Do you know like fake pro wrestling, right? Like
WWE, whatever. Yeah.
Chris Jericho was a very popular wrestler in the 90s, late 90s, I think. And apparently he went into film. So I'm listening to this podcast. I'm like, why are they interviewing this guy?
Yeah.
Apparently he has his 3rd horror film coming out.
Cool.
The first one had a budget, I swear to you, I think they said the entire film's budget was $30,000 and it made several million. Apparently, the second one had a $250,000 budget and made $50 million.
I love it.
And so then all of Hollywood comes knocking and they like, whatever their budget is for this one. It's not The Conjuring, or it's something with a T. I can't think of it right now. But by the time everybody hears this, the movie will be in theaters. So they'll probably know what I'm talking about. But it's just so funny because film, investments, gambling, you don't know what's going to hit. No. Do you remember the Blair Witch Project?
Yes.
That was filmed on like an OG cell phone camera.
Yep.
And with like a bunch of kids. I don't even think they spent $30,000. And that ended up being like the #1 grossing movie of the year that year.
Yep.
And so I don't necessarily fault you for putting the money in. Because like any good gamble, like any good football parlay, like any good roll of the dice in Vegas, it could have hit, right?
Yep. Well, that was the plan. And, you've got to try. I figure, again, right, my job is to make sure my money where my mouth is, right? I tried. I will now tell clients, great, listen, tax strategy, fantastic. Getting your money back, gamble. Your choice.
Yeah. So I was going to say, what do you say to your clients then? If they come to you with something that's not in their wheelhouse, what is your advice? Because you're obviously taking it from personal experience.
Absolutely. And we get it all the time.
People are trying to reach into an area that's not their forte. Really? Okay.
Everything. I mean, I've heard.
I'm a little too cautiously conservative, fiscally speaking, to do any of this. So.
Well, and
I brought $200 to Vegas and was totally fine losing all 200. And people are like,
because that was your choice.
You're supposed to bring 2,000 to Vegas. I'm like, but I'm going to lose it all anyway. So how about I just lose 200?
And we'll be happy.
And I'll just go get a drink after that. So they come to you, they're in real estate or they're in film. Let's flip around.
And looking at real estate.
And they're like, we want to get into real estate investments.
Yeah.
What do you say to them at that point?
Step number 1 is I go back to the team. Right. Great. Okay. You were in film. You're not in real estate. So who on your professional team knows real estate? Now, real estate, I happen to know. So yes, I can look at the deals. I can do that. I can help you with all those things. Okay. However, right, you have to be willing to lose it. Right. Yep. The only thing you're going to get is the tax benefit of whatever it is you're doing. Okay. Of course, we look at the due diligence of the tax strategy piece, right? Make sure the IRS isn't going to be mad at you or whatever it is. But yeah, if we're talking about the actual investment portion, you've got to be working with somebody that understands the investment to tell you whether it's good or bad. Last night, literally, I was playing bocce ball with the ex-COO of U.S. Energy, which is one of the biggest oil and gas. Yeah, exactly. And he was telling me the reason why he left U.S. Energy is because of the fees. So U.S. Energy makes a bunch of money, but the investors themselves, first of all, does the oil field hit or not hit, right? I mean, that's always the gamble on that front. But U.S. Energy makes their money no matter what because the investors are paying the fees, U.S. Energy. So if you want to get into oil and gas and you don't understand that the fees with some of these companies are upfront and not, what the percentages should be, what it's
not built in once you make money off of it or whatever.
You got it. I'm perfectly happy paying you 10% when I make 100%. I'm in. Right. Let's do it. But until I make my money. So having the team around you that know any particular industry is pretty important. So
yeah, because you can't know everything. And I do think sometimes, I had a consultation with a couple last week. They did not sign up for coaching because one of the two spouses was like, we can do this ourselves. We can do this ourselves. We can do this ourselves. And the other spouse is sitting there going, we've tried this before. We've tried this before. We've tried this before.
Mm-hmm.
And so you can't know everything, but investing in a CPA who knows what they're talking about, a financial coach who's really, my goal is not to keep clients for the rest of their life. My goal is to launch them from the nest after a year.
They get to where they need to be and keep them.
Not
and
even
have them call you if there's a problem.
Sometimes we don't have enough time in a year to fix everything, but we learn what we need to do next. Okay, hey, when you guys are done with this part, this is where you're moving on to next. I don't want failure to launch. We need to get out of the nest.
Yes, please.
And so, but it was so funny because the one spouse was like, we tried it. We tried it already. We've tried to do this together. It hasn't been working. We've been married for 20 something years. It hasn't been working. And just as in the marriage, I'm sure you see that with business partners or business owners.
Yeah. Well, and even within the marriage, you'll have one business-minded person and the other one isn't, right? And so, you'll have the tax strategy discussions, tell them what to do, very much coaching, what to do, how to do it, when to do it, who to call, all the pieces. Like, okay, but I can only get you there. You have to do the thing.
Yeah.
And often what we see, and it's a little bit heartbreaking, is the business owners all about it, love it, they hand that task off to the spouse. Nothing ever happens, right? Because they're not involved in that conversation. They're not on the same page as you're saying. Well, we can do this ourselves. They're just not on that same page. And so one of the things, honestly, for years, even back when I had an office, I used to keep a Kleenex box on my desk because I swear I've become a professional psychologist on how to get people to do things, both parties, whether it's business partners, spouses. Sometimes we have the father who's handing off the business to the son or the daughter, and how do you get that family, how do you not make them mad at each other when the other one wants to make a decision and a change? And money is so much psychology. I never thought that would be what it is, but that's what it is.
Yeah, no, there has been multiple times where I'm like, I need to rename my business financial counseling or financial therapy or
100%.
something like that. Financial counseling, there are such things as financial counselors, but I think I'm going to go with in my next life, I'm going to go with financial therapist because
I love it.
And even with single people, because they don't necessarily have
trash in their head from history. It's insane.
Or they don't have anybody to bounce new stuff off of. The old stuff, yes, they can't. They have a hard time processing sometimes because there's no one to talk it out with. But learning something new and adding to their repertoire can be overwhelming when it's just one person.
100%.
Yeah.
Yep.
Now, how do you? I was just thinking with business owners, you must have had business owners who were in partnerships.
Oh yes.
Do you subscribe to the old cliche of the only type of partnership that doesn't, That's the only type of ship that doesn't sail as a partnership or sinks as a partnership?
Yes.
Because that can get super messy. I've worked with small business owners who were, I'm coaching the business owner and the spouse, but there's a business partner. And we might be looking only at the personal budget, but the business,
it's going to impact. It's paying. The cash is coming.
I've worked with small business owners who were exiting a partnership. That was probably one of the most stressful. It's not my business, and it was one of the most stressful years of my life watching this.
You start to get involved, of course. You'd be like, it's your baby too. Yeah. I mean,
so what's your opinion on the partnership thing? Because some people swear by it, and some people will never do a partnership.
For me personally, never, ever, not going to happen. Right? I was approached once many, many, many years ago by somebody on my team to be partners, showed from my perspective, showed his true colors within about a month. And I went, thank God I never signed it.
Oh my God.
That was the end of that. Even my dogs are getting worked up about it. There we go. No partnership. Now I will say out of my 20 years of myself and another 4 years in other firms, 24 years of experience, I have seen one partnership, between two guys, best friends since grade school, I think they told me, one. They had no employees, no stress. The two of them were the only people that worked together, right? And I honestly, I believe that's why it worked so well, because they didn't have any of the, they talk about stress in a marriage. Stress in a partnership is the same thing. The kids are misbehaving. They're not doing what they said. You said you were going to watch the children, whatever, right? When it's just the two guys. So I think that's why it worked. But one in 24 years, it's very rare.
Yeah.
Super rare.
Yeah. And the hiring of employees. Oh my gosh. This is something I have discussions with people about all the time. Not just my clients, but other coaches who are perhaps really growing their business very quickly and may need to hire employees. Yeah. I'm like, go get a VA, a virtual assistant.
All day, every day.
Please, go hire somebody on a 1099. Please do not, because the second you bring an employee, it's just such a totally different dynamic, which I'm 100%. Sure I'm not telling you anything you don't know, because we've got 74 other employees right now. So
everywhere.
Yeah.
And that's really, sorry to throw in Talent Gnome again there, but that's one of the biggest requests we get.
Yeah.
I am starting my business and there's just not enough hours in the day for me to do all of the admin stuff and for me to run the the business side, the very first hire people need is the assistant, executive assistant, personal assistant, virtual assistant. I don't care what you call them. You need the exact opposite of you to be whatever your strength and weakness is, that match, and be able to hand stuff off to them. That is the first hire. And I 1,000% believe if you don't have that person in place, your business, you can grow it, but it's like pulling teeth. If you have that person in place, all of a sudden it's like magically growing and flowers and butterflies everywhere. I mean, it's insane what that.
And you have no idea. You have no idea, quote unquote, how that happened. Right.
Right. Exactly. So.
That's amazing. Well, I am going to also throw in the link for Talent Gnome because I think that is really important. We do have a lot of small business owners who listen to this podcast. So I will add that to the show notes below, as they say. So Shauna, the tax goddess, thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate you sharing your blunders. And again, all of Shauna's information in the notes below. And we'll talk to you soon, Shauna. Thank you.
Sounds like a plan. Thank you so much for having me.